Hello everyone, Lawrence Fleming here again. Well, I'm going to do kind of an important message that I've been kind of alluding to, but I'm going to focus this entire message on it. We are seeing food shortages. It's deliberate. They're trying to put us in a position where we're going to turn to the government and say, oh, please save us. If you've read anything about the 2030 group, they basically want to put us in a position where we have nothing. So we have to go to the government for everything. We already know about the future prediction about there being the cost of wheat, work a whole day for your food basically. A lot of people are almost doing that now, especially those on fixed income. And I appreciate that because I'm on fixed income, but it's a good chunk because I'm not spending as much living out here in nature. But there are those that are already tied up in apartments and mortgages, and they're spending what little bit of money they have left just to get by. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I want to talk about the fact that the government wants you to either starve to death because they want the population to decrease. They also want a war so that we can be wiped out that way. The 2030 group says that we need to have, 500 million on the earth? We're over 8 billion. How many people do we have to get rid of for them to reach that goal? Now we're told in Revelation that we're going to lose a quarter in one shot and a third in another. That's almost half. And then there's going to be more after that. Plus they're going to pull out the certain Christians are going to come out of this. So it's going to be, they're going to get their wish. So what I want to do is I want to talk about, we're seeing that the shelves are less populated. And if you haven't noticed, the markets are starting to hide this a little bit. They're putting up decorations and stuff. They're doing things to kind of spread the packages out so they're not right packed in against each other. They're trying to make it look like there's not a food shortage. But we already know that there was a problem with shipping. And in California, they're basically telling drivers, if you don't have the shot, you can't drive. So drivers can't work in California. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to try to go to other states, but they're going to be, you're not from here, we're not going to help you. It's hitting on all fronts. They're not just doing it with shipping. And we get a lot of our shipping from China, and China's about ready to go to war with us, so that's not going to happen. Ukraine, who used to feed a lot of Africa and a lot of the surrounding areas with grain, they can't ship. One, they're at war, and two, Russia's blocking the ports, so they can't ship. Russia's also threatening to cut off fuel to Europe for anybody who disagrees with them, which is pretty much everybody, so it takes somebody with guts to come out and speak it, but when they do, then they're punished by having their fuel cut. The Netherlands are about in that category right now. Now, Israel could, of course, come back in and make up that because they're starting to drill now and get that process going. But that's probably going to cause the Magog War because Russia doesn't want competition. Just in our country alone, this year alone, there have been some 20 plus food processing plants burned. Now, not all to the ground, just if a fire takes out 30% of its production, that's a pretty big chunk considering that we're low on supplies anyway. Gas is coming back down, but it's only until November. If the election goes the way they want, it's going to skyrocket again, probably go up even higher. They want everybody to suffer. Satan doesn't like us anyway, and he's going to do everything he can to make us suffer. But the harlot is also wanting us to suffer. I'm just going to list off some of these. You say, well, how do you know 20 plants were burned? I'm just going to list some of them. I found this online. Number one, Van Drunen Food Processing in Moments, Illinois, January 2nd. Cangill Feed Mill, LeComp, Louisiana, January 13th. Oregon Potato, Walden, Washington, January 22nd. Winston Weaver, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, January 31st. Wisconsin River Meats, Mouston, Wisconsin, February 2nd. Louis Dreyfus in Claypool, Illinois, February 16th. Bestview Farm, Albans, Vermont, February 18th. I'm probably butchering all these names, but if you know them, forgive me for that. Bestview Farms. So the Louis Dreyfus was in Claypool, Indiana, February 16th. Bestview Farms was Albans, Vermont, February 18th. Shearer's Food, Hermiston, Oregon, February 22nd. Nutrient AG, Sunnyside, Washington, February 28th. Nestle Foreign Foods, Jonesboro, Arkansas, March 16th. I'm going to skip the next few. Number 22 on the list was Purdue Farms in Chesapeake, Virginia, April 30th. And there's more. There's a train derailment carrying food. There's all this stuff is going on. Now, you could say that these are just random bad things that are happening. But this many? Yeah. Well, if you look it up on the internet, the first few are saying, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing going on. This is just normal things happening. Okay, yes. They also say we're not in a recession and Epstein didn't hang himself. So you go ahead and take it for what you want. I listed them so you could see that they're real. They're not something made up. Now, what are we to do about this? I've been telling you for a long time, but you need to prep. Well, I'm going to increase that. I follow a number of people on YouTube, and I always hit their channels. Some about traveling and RVing, and some about camping. I follow Survivor Man, Les Stroud, and he shows you how you can survive in the wilderness on virtually nothing, or how you can make use of things that are around you. We're going to get to that point. You don't want to be near a city. When the city goes bad, there are going to be riots. You're not going to be safe anywhere. We've already got cities that are not safe. Whether it's San Francisco, LA, New York, Chicago, they're not safe. Even in places where they ban guns. Guns are used to kill people every week. You can't force people to behave by passing a law. The Bible says that all laws do is point out that we're sinners, but they don't make us change. Now, we're supposed to prep. You say, well, we're supposed to trust God to take care of us. Yes, but He gave us a brain. I'm going to read the story of Joseph. When he was put in prison, and then the Pharaoh had a dream, and his magicians couldn't interpret the dream, so they called on Joseph because they remembered he knew how to interpret dreams. So let's go to Genesis 41. I'm going to start in verse 15. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and there was no one who can interpret it, but I've heard it said that you can understand dreams to interpret them. So Joseph answered Pharaoh and said, it is not in me. God will give me, Pharaoh, an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, behold, in my dream I stood at the bank of the river, and suddenly 7 cows came out of the river, fine, looking fat. And then they fed in the meadow. Then behold, the 7th cow came up after them. 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ugly and gaunt, and such ugliness I have never seen in all the land of Egypt. And the gaunt and ugly cows ate up the first 7 and the fat cows. And then they had eaten them up. No one would have known that they had even eaten them, for they were just as ugly in it as in the beginning. And he woke, and he had another dream basically doing the same thing. Joseph prayed about it, and the dream was answered. I'm not going to read it all because it's another page and a half. If you want, please go back and finish the chapter. Chapter 41, which is titled Pharaoh's Dream. But Joseph basically said, you're going to have 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. So he told Pharaoh, during the 7 years of plenty, put a portion of that away each year. Store it up so you've got food for the 7 years of famine. Pharaoh did that. That's 14 years right there. But during that, Pharaoh believed Joseph and put him in charge of everything. As is usually the case, people will see God in us and many times will put us in charge. I've had that happen many times, so I've seen that in my own life. But it's always God. It's the people that are seeing God. They're not seeing me. You don't want me in charge of anything. I'm absent-minded. So we are to do things that can help us, especially if God tells us. But on the other side of that, I want to talk about, let's go to Luke 16, Luke 12:16. Okay, and then Jesus spoke a parable to them. The ground of a certain rich man yielded plenty. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, since I have no room to store the crops? He said, I will do this. I will pull down all my barns and build greater, and there will be more to store all the crops of my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to them, fool, this night your soul may be required of you. Those who have things by which you have provided, so he who lays up treasures for himself is not rich towards God. For God feeds them. God. Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you're to eat, nor about your body, what you will put on. Life is more important than food, and the body more important than clothing. He goes on to say that don't worry about these things. God will take care of it. Well, he provides a mechanism. And if the mechanism is for us to do something, then we're to do something. Don't worry about it, is what he's saying. Can you gain an inch of height by worrying about it? No. So the key is don't worry about it. But if you're given the opportunity to do something, do something. I keep telling you, prep. Don't build a bomb shelter. Prep. If you go to the market and you're going to buy a can of something, buy 2. If you can afford to buy 5 or 10, buy 10. Make sure it's things that will keep. Going and filling up your freezer and your refrigerator may not, work for very long, because if they cut the power, which they can do, then it's all going to spoil. So you make sure you've got, beans and rice, and you can have potatoes and onions and stuff like that if you got a cool place to store them. That's why the old timers used to have, root cellars that they could keep things in. If you can start a garden, start it now. Make sure you're picking things that will grow. Tomatoes are good, beans are good, things like that. Some things take a little while. Some things take, a year of no fruit before they produce fruit. I don't think we have that much time. But maybe you can get some up for this fall. Get started on that. I do want to read Revelation 6. I'm going to start in verse 5 because it's the third seal. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, come and see. And so I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil or the wine. Oil is money nowadays, so you don't want to hurt that. So is wine. A denarius is a day's wage. You're going to be working all day just to feed your family, if you have a job. They say unemployment's never been better. The government's been fudging unemployment numbers for years, even in other administrations. If you've been out of work for so long that you just throw up your hands, you give up and you go home and sulk, they take you off the list. You're not unemployed. To them, you're dead. You don't count. The only people that are unemployed are the ones that are filing for unemployment. If you've not filed, you're not counted either. I knew someone years ago, and this was in a different administration, so this shows you it's been going on for a long time, who was taking unemployment, and they came up and said, we'll give you more money if you go on this special government program. Of course, you take it. But in that government program, those numbers are not counted, and you're taken off the unemployment numbers. Our government has been corrupt for years. It's just gotten worse. And now the harlot is in charge. And our government leaders are puppets. It doesn't matter that our fearless leader is senile. As long as he can read a teleprompter, he's okay. But I suspect he's probably in danger right now. He's gotten COVID again. He's in danger because China has blackmail information about him and his son Joe. I didn't want to say the last name when I said it. Okay, hopefully they won't block this. But the bottom line is that China's got something to hold over our president. I don't think he's going to be in office much longer because the harlot doesn't like a country having anything over what they're doing. We have an election coming up. The gas prices are down. They're not going to stay down. When they've either come up with a way to take over or to have the election that they can guarantee they're going to win at, either way, then the price of gas will go back up. And it'll probably go up higher. Expect gas at $8 to $10 a gallon everywhere. Even in the states that were not part of the left control. They don't want you to live, especially if you know what's going on. I don't know how much longer this channel is going to be able to stay up. I'm going to do my best to keep it up. But here I made a gaffe and said the president's name. That might be enough to have this restricted. I certainly can't say anything bad about what's going on. I can't talk about the big C, about the new monkey thing that's going on. I can't say anything about any of that. Because if I do, they will restrict me. I don't know if you saw, and I did put up something on it. Elon Musk was posting something on TikTok, and they banned him. He's already been banned from Twitter. He's a rich guy who's not going along with what the harlot's doing, who's got lots of rich guys involved. I already don't post on Facebook anymore because they've restricted me and told me I post hate speech. You've heard me. Do I post hate speech? Well, to the devil this is hate speech. It's going to get worse. Go over and sign up for Telegram. Sign up for Rumble. There's other sites. Make sure you know that they really, truly are good sites, because the devil will create clones. I just gave you 2 good ones. If you want to find another one, vet it out good. Don't be fooled. The devil is not good at creating anything. He's excellent at copying. We're in the end times and we're running out of time, but some of the new studies that I have are saying that, the rapture may not include everybody. There's some teachings out there that are saying that we might have only a partial rapture, but there's 3 raptures, so don't worry, you get one of them. I don't know. I don't study Revelation and the end times to that degree. I tell you all the time, my main instruction from God is to play a modern John the Baptist. Repent, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. And that's my main message. I am trying to come up to speed on end-time teaching, but there's so many variations. Tribulation, I can't find anywhere in the Bible where it says there's 7 years of tribulation. Brenda Weltner says there isn't. But other teachers say there is. But I can't find anywhere. Yes, we have a 70th day of, or 70th week of Daniel. But some are saying that we've already seen part of it back in Jesus' time. And the scriptures seem to match. But others say, no, it hasn't happened yet. It makes coming up with a timeline and how much longer we have hard to do, ambiguous. So I'm telling you, be prepared. Get your food stores up. Plan on 3 to 6 months of food in your house, in your apartment, wherever you're at. If you have none, get out and start buying today. The prices are going to keep going up. The shelves are going to become more and more bare. Have you been into a dollar store lately? A lot of bare items. I was just at Walmart getting some things. A lot of bare shelves where things are spread out, like I said. God doesn't want you to bury your head in the sand. He wants you to be aware of what's going on. Don't go sit on the front porch in your rocking chair and wait for the rapture. It may be a while. You're going to be a skeleton up there rocking back and forth in the wind because you're going to starve to death if you don't take care of yourself. Please get out and do something. Now, I want you to continue to support this channel as much as you can. Pray for this channel. I have a Patreon account that I need to get more people involved in so that I don't have to work. I don't want to work in the film industry right now. I'm afraid it's going over the cliff and I don't want to be a part of it. So I do need to replace that supplemental income that I was increased. When I worked, I was getting enough spending money that I didn't have to do anything else. I didn't have to work full time, but I did need, 2 or 3 days of work. I need to replace that. I'm having some difficulty right now. I'm going to have to go get, I've got a hotspot, but I'm going to have to go get a new one. They're willing to give me a new one for free if I, sign up for it. So I'm going to go do that. Mine's old one's only 4G, and I need to have 5G so I can do faster uploads. I can't tie my phone up all day long doing uploads. So I'm going to go deal with that. But I don't have the ability. I'm doing everything on my phone. And my phone has cracked glass. I can see it all across there. You can't. But there's a crack almost over the top of my lens, so I got to be careful with that. But I tried to use my old laptop, which was like 11 years old, and it's too old. It takes so much power. It won't run on the battery more than 30 minutes, and it's just too old. It came with Windows 8. That's how old it is. Or it may have come with 6 or 7, but I can force an upgrade over the top of just about anything because I know what I'm doing, but I think it's got 10 on it, but it doesn't run very fast. And it doesn't have much memory. I need a new laptop, so I put a fundraiser up for that. If you can contribute, I would appreciate it. If you can't, don't worry about it. I'll get there somehow. I'm doing this right now with only my phone. So pray for me, pray for this channel, pray for that I can continue doing what I'm doing with what I'm doing. Pray that I can continue on YouTube. YouTube has restricted one of my videos recently, and my subscriber count is, for the first time in 4 months, negative. So I need to really deal with that. Pray for this ministry. That's the only way that we can beat the enemy, is through prayer. We have the Spirit in us. We can beat the enemy in food. We can beat the enemy in health. In anything we need God's help in, we can beat the enemy. But don't be dismayed by any of it. If we're to the point where we're going to starve to death, God will either take us out of here or find a way to sneak food to you. The enemy won't like it. But that's just the devil. He can go to hell. Yeah, I know I pick on him all the time because I'm not afraid of him, and don't you be either. Stay so close to God that Satan's afraid to come to you. because he is afraid of God. Now, he's powerful. He could beat us one-on-one just like that, but not with the Spirit protecting us. So keep that armor on. Keep close to God. And make sure you're enjoying the fruits of Galatians 22. All right. This is important that you pay attention and that you listen to this message, because otherwise you may find yourself without food before we get raptured. Don't know how far we're going to go, but we will meet in the clouds at some point. God bless.